640 miles of fence have been built along the nearly 2,000-mile border with Mexico. That fence is a hodge of high double security fencing, easily scaled vehicle barriers, and a high-tech virtual fence plagued with problems from the start. But billions of dollars later, and this is what we have. It is estimated that 500,000 people cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally every year. Recently, the illegal immigration numbers are declining, and many factors have played into that. One major player in that decline has been seen as the fence. The structure is causing major controversy about its function and impact. But the question remains, is the fence really securing our border? The U.S.-Mexico border runs almost 2,000 miles between California and Texas. In its 2,000 miles, it crosses through the Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts, and this vast area of land once was very different.
There's been several stages of transmission.
The Secure Fence Act of 2006 called for 700 miles of the border to be secured by physical barriers. This leaves over 1,200 miles unprotected in areas that are dangerous to cross. The Secure Fence Act called for many different types of double reinforced fencing, vehicle barriers, and used advanced technologies such as cameras and motion sensors. Arizona rancher John Ladd is a fourth-generation rancher in Cochise County.
My great-grandparents homesteaded this area in 1896, and we raised beef cattle.
His family ranch spreads over 14,000 acres in the desert, and in the sector where he lives, 29 miles of border fence have been built.
14 different styles of wall in that 29-mile area.
The fence differs in height all along the border, and in John's area, the fence ranges between 10 and 18 feet tall.
That's pretty easy to get up over on a ladder and then just hang down and put your feet on the vehicle barrier and then step down on the ground.
But the height isn't the only difference in the fence. The double reinforced fencing is built of different material, including mesh and steel tubing.
There's no consistency in how they built it.
Each style of fence had different contractors to build them, and they each have their own cost. In Cochise County, it ranges from $1.92 million to $3 million per mile.
We're spending a lot of money.
Vehicle barriers have been built in areas where the pedestrian fence was not able to go. Typically, this is along rough terrain in the desert. Vehicle barriers are also known as Normandy fence. They are made of old reinforced railroad tracks. They are about chest high and usually surrounded by barbed wire fence. However, the barbed wire has a history of being cut, which makes slipping under the vehicle barriers very easy.
You only have to try so many times before you make it.
And there are some gates that are extremely easy to cross.
That gate opens, it just swings wide.
This type of fence is used by ranchers, and sometimes it's not even secured. But the most controversial fencing that has been built along the border is the virtual fencing, also known as SBI Net. Carl W. Hoffman lives in Arivaca, Arizona, which was one of the first places SBI Net was brought.
When I first arrived, there were no border fences.
SBI Net was initiated in 2006 and was built by Boeing. The plan was for the technology to help eliminate illegal immigration.
Now, any of the real security companies wouldn't touch it because it wasn't possible.
The towers were built on top of hills 10 to 12 miles from the border. Cameras were supposed to predict and detect illegal activity.
They really had no idea what they're putting up and where.
Boeing estimated that they would build 1,800 towers along the border, but in October of 2010, that plan was put to a stop. It is estimated that up to billions have been spent on this project.
We don't need to spend the money on cameras in those areas.
But it's not just fencing protecting our border. Yuma Border Patrol sector covers 126 miles of border.
Every one of those miles has some type of barrier.
Border Patrol agent Kenneth Quillen has been working in the Yuma sector since 2007 and has seen a shift in border security.
2003, I think we were around 300 agents in the Yuma sector. We're currently a little over 900.
In 2005, Yuma sector saw a peak in migrant traffic. During this year, Border Patrol arrested over 138,000 migrants and even saw more than 800 cross in one day.
2005 was the Yuma sector's high water mark as far as apprehensions.
In May of 2006, President Bush deployed National Guard to Yuma, and since then, arrests have gone down 95% in that sector. Last year, only 695 arrests were made in the Yuma sector's 126 miles of border. Clearly, Yuma's migrant traffic has declined in recent years, but that hasn't been the only improvement. The national number of migrants has declined as well. The annual flow of migrants to the U.S. was 2/3 smaller than the year before, according to the Pew Hispanic Center, and it's currently 70% below the annual average of 500,000.
It's slowed down a lot.
As Kenneth said, the Yuma Border Patrol alone has almost tripled in size since 2003, and nationally they have grown to about 2,500 agents.
The tightening of border security was just an absolute boom.
But what is the real reason in immigration decline? Some say it's because of our fences,
The fences play a significant part.
and some say it's our economy that's driving down the numbers.
The job opportunities aren't as available as they were. It'll be 5 weeks today that I haven't seen a group. So I have to say that.
For John Ladd, that has been the longest amount of time he's gone without seeing migrants cross in 18 years. Another study by the Pew Hispanic Center says the U.S. economy went into recession in 2007, right around the time Border Patrol was increasing their efforts. So which one played a bigger role in the decline may never be known. But one thing is for sure, the fences still stand incomplete after 4 years of construction. The 640 miles of all types of border fence covers less than 1/3 of the U.S.-Mexico border.
If you're going to build the wall, build the wall.
After years of working on the virtual fencing, they now stand inactive.
It wasn't done with a plan, and it basically created a runaway train. And we're going to feel this collateral damage for generations.
And despite the decline, the Pew Hispanic Center said the immigration was nearly 1/3 larger in 2009 than in 2000, and that number has even tripled since the 1990s.
I don't think anybody has the same idea on how to fix it. And that's what the problem is.
The border fences were built to ensure that illegal immigration would come to a stop. The numbers are down, but the problems haven't stopped.